This episode of the Cloud Accounting Podcast is sponsored by TOA Global. As you know, most firms struggle with attracting, managing, and retaining staff. And finding staff is getting tougher every day. This is where TOA Global can help. TOA Global is the most professional outsourcing partner to help you build and manage a global accounting team. By building a global team, you'll be able to take away the time-consuming, process-oriented work from your local team while building a cost-effective team offshore. As people experts, TOA Global can help you select and develop your best team members easily using their expert ecosystem of people, security, technology, and professional development tools. To learn how to build your world-class team today, head over to cloudaccountingpodcast.com/TOA Global. That is cloudaccountingpodcast.com/TOAGLOBAL. Welcome to the Cloud Accounting Podcast. I'm Blake Oliver.
I'm David Leary.
I'm Tony Ward, the President of the Americas for Xero.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, Tony, here at Xerocon 2019 in San Diego. Thank you for having us as your guest here.
I'm very happy that you're both here.
Yeah, and you are pretty new to Xero, right? How long have you been in charge?
I've been 1 month in the role. Literally, I think when we reported our annual earnings on the 16th of May, that was my first day at Xero.
So 1 month, and then now you're here at the conference.
30 days later, you're in the Cloud Accounting Podcast.
Yeah, who knew?
Your career's just peaked.
That's right. I could drop the mic now. Job done.
Have you been to a Xerocon before? Is this your first one?
Yeah, this is my third Xerocon. I went to one as working for SurveyMonkey as an exhibitor because there's an integration with Xero, and same for Dropbox. Mm-hmm. So I got to see what it was like as a sponsor, and now I'm sort of behind the curtain to see what it's really like as an employee.
What made you want to join Xero? You've had this background in tech. You mentioned Dropbox, SurveyMonkey, Microsoft. Am I missing one? LinkedIn as well. Yeah. So out of everything you could have done, why go to Xero?
Do you know, I'll tell you, after 20 years of working for U.S. multinationals, I made a decision that I wanted to work for a company that was actually from down under. So either Australia or New Zealand, having spent the last 25 years down there. And, you know, I've talked to Xero over the years in one way, shape, or form about different things. And when I heard about this opportunity to sort of come home, I'm originally from Canada. So to come here and to run a business in the Americas, you know, that is a massive opportunity. It was just almost too good to say no to.
And do you have an accounting or bookkeeping background, or you just came up through the software world? Yeah,
I'm definitely a software person. Yeah, I did a commerce degree, and there was some accounting in it, but I'm definitely not an accountant by trade. I'm software and most recently SaaS software.
Matt Paff made this observation. I kind of made it, but Matt Paff made it very clear, public on Twitter. He made the observation that, oh, look, it's another non-American taking over Xero for the Americas. So can you respond to that?
Yeah.
Or what do you make of that?
Well, it is the Americas, and obviously Canada is part of that, and I am Canadian. And just, you know, my wife is a real Ancestry.com sort of person, so she's traced the lineage of my family back to the 1630s coming to America, and then it took them a couple hundred years to actually go up into Canada. So I sort of feel, certainly genetically, you know, the Americas is ultimately home for me.
Currently, you're splitting your time between Sydney and the Denver Xero office?
That's right.
Yeah. You're permanently relocating at some point, I imagine.
Yes, that's the plan. You know, people sort of complain about their commute sometimes, but Sydney, Australia to Denver, no, that's a pretty serious commute.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of spending a couple of weeks here and a week back in Australia, and my family's going to come up in January.
Speaking of Denver, Xero just moved their U.S. offices from San Francisco. Are you guys 100% done with the Bay, and you're just going to be all Denver now?
Oh, definitely not. So San Francisco is a really important community for us, certainly for the go-to-market perspective. What we did is we redeployed some of the technical roles into our hubs, whether they be Auckland, Wellington, Melbourne, Denver, or Toronto. So we still have quite a few people in San Francisco, but they're going to be the go-to-market team, so the people that are actually managing the partner relationships, marketing people there. So super important market for us. We'll have an office there, and it's about putting the right roles in the right place for scale.
I've been a Xero partner almost since Xero started in the United States, and I'm curious to know, how do you plan to crack open America for, you know, the United States specifically for Xero? Because I've been a bit jealous watching the global growth, you know, in the UK, obviously in Australia, just go crazy bonkers. And, you know, here in the US, we've got, it's a very different situation with Intuit and QuickBooks and that big giant. So how do you gain that awareness?
What we did in the Americas, we've been here for about 6 or 7 years. I think what we did is we didn't necessarily follow the playbook that was successful in Australia and the UK. So that playbook is you need to bring partners on board. You need to show them how they can grow their business and how it's easier for them. But you also need to focus on small businesses and what's in it for them. And you have to do both at the same time. And I think what we did in the Americas in the past is we started with the partners, forgot small business, and then really flip-flopped to, hey, let's go direct to small business, and forgot about the partners. And in the last 2 years, we've kind of gone back to the basics. So we're 2 years into what we hope is a shorter journey than what it took in the UK to do it, but it does take time. What I would say is in the last year to 2 years, we recruited quite a few partners in the US that have about 1 million small businesses that they look after. So now our real challenge is how do we get those small businesses that they look after to move over to Xero? And in terms of, what we're doing, I just look at the Americas in general as a real greenfields opportunity because only 10% of all the small businesses are on cloud-based accounting. So really, and obviously the competition wants them to move from desktop to cloud. So they're going to help us drive awareness that now is the time to move to cloud-based accounting, and whoever does a better job with better product, better support is going to win. So, given that we're born in the cloud, and I think our culture is our real, unique differentiator. Like I've heard from so many people that, hey, your people just show up and they actually care. And I think that is our special sauce, is actually the people that we have that will be the difference. I think the open ecosystem, the platform, the partnerships, the things that small businesses need to get their job done. We have an amazing ecosystem, whether it's, Gusto or Stripe. I mean, there's a lot of great companies that are building on top of our platform. And if you think about success in the software world, platform companies win, product companies get bought or go away. So I see we're really pushing hard that if you think about it, the operating system for small business being Xero, and what makes it sing and what makes it beautiful is the partners that build on top of that actually, and small businesses don't really care about software. Why should they? They care about, if my mom was a hairdresser, she cared about her hairdressing business. Or if you're a restaurant or a law firm, you just want the thing to work in the back end and focus on what you love, which is what your small business is.
This episode of the Cloud Accounting Podcast is sponsored by LivePlan. Did you know that millions of small businesses use LivePlan products to start their business? Did you know that these small businesses prefer a cloud-based accounting solution 2 times more versus a desktop solution? Did you know that 89% of these small business owners prefer virtual advisory services? Did you know that the number one thing they want from an expert advisor is strategic planning and review? This is even more than general ledger accounting and bookkeeping services. Did you know that LivePlan has an expert advisory directory that you can join to gain access to these millions of small businesses? To learn more about becoming a LivePlan expert advisor, head over to cloudaccountingpodcast.com/LivePlan. That is cloudaccountingpodcast.com/LIVEPLAN. And be sure to check out the LivePlan method to learn how to grow and scale your advisory business. So where does Xero fit in? Like, obviously, our listeners we're QuickBooks Live. They're very aware of that. And then you have H&R Block acquiring Wave last week or the week before that. You have all this VC money pouring into these accounting firms with engineers. So the bot keepers, the scale factors, pilots, and basically it's software with bookkeeping. Yeah. Kind of under a combined model, if you want to think of it that way. And also they're also adding in tax. So where does Xero fit in that new world?
Yeah, it's an interesting, there's a view that every business is going to become a software business. Software is eating the world. Talking to some of the large accounting firms here, some of them sound a lot more like software businesses than accounting businesses. I can imagine a time when accounting firms are almost managed service providers where they're looking after a stack of software for a business and they're charging a monthly fee, and they should do advisory on top of that. Like, that's kind of where I see the future. We want to be the platform that's built on, right? We want to be, it's brought to you by the letter X. It happens to be Xero, but there's all this great stuff on top. So I see lots more innovation. I can see acquisitions. I can see mergers, but I can see software really. Like, the only way that it scales to go do small business for large firms or anybody is it's got to be software, and it's got to be, one click to use. So simplicity, ease of use, it doesn't take away from me running my business. It's just a thing that runs in the background.
It's interesting you say that because that was definitely my experience in a large accounting firm. Is I think 50% or more of our revenue was from consulting services, which included reselling software, IT work, that sort of stuff. And the traditional accounting and tax had actually taken a back seat to that kind of growth.
I mean, you hear some of the large accounting firms actually talking about, hey, we're going to be building software for small businesses, and it's going to be $200 or $300 a month all in. Like, for a large accounting firm to be talking about that kind of revenue, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that would be like, are you crazy? How do we make money? And the only way you do it is it's software, and it sits in the background. Humans don't touch it.
So speaking of big accounting firms, I saw the press release. PwC is partnering with Xero, and I almost missed it because I guess maybe I wasn't in the room when that was announced. What is that? What is going on with PwC?
Yeah, I think there are good examples. So they are building some of their own software to really go after that small business segment. So the Charlie, who's here from PwC, his charter is really to grow that business and grow in very small business, which PwC in small business, that's an example of, hey, 5 years ago, somebody said that PwC was going to go after really small business. You'd go, how do they make money? And I think it's with software.
And it's been tried before, and there have been different announcements. I think there was one.
KPMG killed theirs. After
they had
2
one in the
years.
UK. They killed it because they couldn't make it work. Do you think that they're going to finally crack the code on doing this? I mean,
small business is that multi-billion-dollar, if not trillion-dollar opportunity, but it's got to be at scale, low cost, low touch software. So will PwC get it right? I hope so.
So in the announcement, it mentioned that they're going to leverage the Xero API. So it sounds like they're going to build applications that plug in to Xero to leverage the GL.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, think about Xero as that small business operating system that does, the single ledger, and then you think about line of business applications, payroll, et cetera, that sit on top of that as a solution for a small business for a monthly fee with potential advisory services on top of that. Play that out with a company that's the size of PwC. Think about all the data that they have when they start using AI and ML to do, get ahead of the curve. And how do you do that in a non-human way? You can start to think about what that could look like.
It's the same play. I mean, this software with
a service.
There's humans involved PwC is an accounting firm with engineers. Now they're going to use Xero as the GL, but it's that same model. We're seeing this pop up everywhere. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's what you will see. You'll see it as, software plus humans, and then that's where the real value comes in, is the advisory piece. But some of the basics are going to be done by software.
Where do you see this impacting the industry on the whole? So if the average bookkeeper is not going to write code and create software, right? I'd say the vast majority of accountants are not going to write software. So as you said, and this quote's famous, the software's eating the world, right? What do you think the impact's going to be overall on like these bookkeepers and accountants that aren't going to be able to do this in a super highly scaled way that fast? And the same, because if PwC is successful and QuickBooks Live is successful, all of a sudden there's thousands and tens of thousands and millions of businesses in this new model, however it evolves to. Like the average bookkeeper or accountant that just has 40, 50 clients, what are they going to do in this model?
Yeah, I think if you saw some of the stats that Nick just talked about in the session, it was talking about profitability for advisory services. So I think if you're a bookkeeper or you're an accountant, you have to figure out a way to bring yourself out of the basics of accounting and get yourself into actually being a business coach because none of these small businesses have coaches, right? They don't. They're the most underserved, undercoached business in the world, and there's literally millions, hundreds of millions of them. So that's where I see the opportunity. So the bookkeepers and accountants that can figure out how to move quickly into advisory and value-based advisory are the ones I think that will be successful. The ones that sort of stick to the current model, the cheese is moving, so you have to figure out where the cheese is going to.
Coming out of Xerocon, it's your first month. Any big plans for the rest of the year or 2020?
Look, I think the playbook that the team have been executing, carrying the team locally, is the right playbook. I think focusing on a few areas and really going hard. You mentioned the U.S. before. we can't cover with the resources we have the entire continental US. So we have, with some data, we've picked where we believe we can be successful, and that's where we're going to layer on our resources and where we're going to focus on really doing a great job in those areas. And once we prove that we've nailed it, then you can scale it. What you don't do is scale a business before you've really cracked the code. So that's really the plan for the Americas. Canada is a little bit different because it's more similar to Australia and New Zealand. 5 big banks, 80% of small businesses have an accountant or a bookkeeper, quarterly reporting. So that's more like the standard playbook. But having said that, Ontario has 26% of all the small businesses in Canada. So focusing on Toronto, obviously we could do really well there for a very long time and never leave Toronto. But we've put people on the ground in Calgary and Vancouver because if you add those markets together, that's probably 40 to 45% of the small businesses. So not trying to cover everything, not trying to be everywhere, but where we choose to be, actually really be there.
So if people want to connect with you online, where should they go, Tony?
Being ex-LinkedIn, definitely go on LinkedIn. What I would say is when you ask to connect with me, write something, why we should connect, what value.
You mean I shouldn't send you an email that says, we seem to have many mutual connections. Would you please connect with me?
No, please don't do that. But if there's a real great reason to connect, I'm all over that. That is a professional network. I really believe in it. So yes, LinkedIn is probably the appropriate place.
And let's say there's some pro advisors listening that want to find out more about Xero. Mm-hmm. What should they do?
Go to the website would be my first starting point. There's tons of information on there. And then if that doesn't work or you want more, obviously LinkedIn, you can find people that work at Xero. And if that doesn't work, come to the office.
All right. Sounds good. An excuse to go to Denver.
Or Sydney.
There you go.
Or New Zealand.
Or New Zealand.
Or Wellington.
Yeah.
Vancouver sounds good too. That would be a nice trip.
Thank you, Tony. And I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
Guys.
This episode of the Cloud Accounting Podcast is sponsored by Xero Tax. As a new business owner and first-time tax filer, I needed a peace of mind knowing that my S-Corp return was done correctly. I signed up for Xero Tax, connected to my QuickBooks Online, filled out about 4 fields in a wizard, clarified 2 small items with the Xero Tax team. A few days later, I got a text telling me my return was finished. I launched Xero Tax and e-signed my return. The whole end-to-end process was painless and, frankly, kind of amazing. Now, Xero Tax is working with bookkeepers and accountants like yourself to offer the same amazing experience to your small business clients. They're even offering a 1-year free trial to all your clients. This even includes your own dedicated tax CPA. To learn more about this exciting offer from Xero Tax, head over to cloudaccountingpodcast.com/Xero Tax. That is cloudaccountingpodcast.com/HALONTAX. And oh yeah, Xero Tax works great with Xero and Wave too.